This is huge news. Like, seriously huge. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo is here in Israel on a historic visit. It is the first time a Secretary of State has visited the historic city of David in Jerusalem, as well as the first time a Secretary of State has visited a Jewish community in our ancestral lands of Judea and Samaria. Huge! But on top of all of that, he just made the following public announcement in a joint press conference with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Listen to this.
Today I want to make one announcement with respect to a decision by the State Department that we will regard the global anti-Israel BDS campaign as anti-Semitic. I know this sounds simple to you, Mr. Prime Minister. It seems like a statement of fact, but I want you to know that we will immediately take steps to identify organizations that engage in hateful BDS conduct and withdraw U.S. government support for such groups. The time is right.
It doesn't sound simple. It sounds simply wonderful to me.
Look, we want to stand with all other nations that recognize the BDS movement for the cancer that it is, and we're committed to combating it. Our record speaks for itself. During the Trump administration, America stands with Israel like never before.
Many people do not understand the level of importance of this announcement. The anti-Israel BDS boycott, divestment, sanctions movement is part of the global terror plan against Israel, with involvement by Palestinian Authority officials and terrorists from other terrorist organizations. The Israeli government has created a full report called Terrorists in Suits, delineating the ties between terrorist organizations and nonprofit organizations behind the BDS movement. Here are just a few of the terrorists in suits that are given credibility by the BDS movement that Mike Pompeo is now delineating anti-Semitic. This is following a statement by Pompeo's State Department back in October that it was considering labeling international human rights organizations anti-Semitic, like Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch, because they support the BDS boycott, divestment, sanctions movement against Israel. This is a huge development. Understand, this will only last under a Trump administration. The Biden-Harris team have already announced that if Biden becomes president, they will undo mostly all of the moves the Trump administration did vis-a-vis Israel and the Palestinian Authority. And now the anti-Israel forces are looking to go to the United States courts for legal battles to support their right to boycott, divest, and sanction Israel. As they write on their website, Palestine Legal, following a surge in grassroots support for boycott, divestment, and sanctions campaigns for Palestinian human rights, dozens of Israel lobby groups, the Israeli government, and U.S. right-wing organizations have pushed policies to stifle Palestine advocacy. See, they call the anti-Semitic BDS movement advocacy for Palestine. It's about destroying Israel. And they want to use U.S. law to protect their right to engage in this anti-Semitic activity. Well, with Pompeo's new BDS is anti-Semitism doctrine, they will be stopped. With the Biden-Harris administration, they would be allowed and even possibly actively assisted by the administration. So thank you, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, and thank you, President Trump.
Pulse of Israel, frontline videos from the Holy Land. Support our work by donating today.